Hello and welcome to our videos. Today we're going to be looking at figurative language. And this is part one. And the figurative language that we're going to be looking at today is similes, metaphors, and personification. So get your thinking caps on. What is a simile? At any time, pause the video and have a think. If you're working with somebody else, have a quick chat, unpause the video and continue to play. So what is a simile? So the definition of a simile is when something is like or as something else. For example, the sun was orange like marmalade. It isn't marmalade, but it's like marmalade, not because of its taste, but because of its colour. The sun was as orange as marmalade. So again, using the as, which shows us that it's a simile. So now on the screen, you're going to see the beginning of a sentence, and I'd like you to see if you can think of an appropriate ending which would turn this into a simile. So there's a well-known phrase, and if you're really proud about something, the phrase is, you're as proud as a, because peacocks are very proud. So what is it? As proud as a peacock. So when you see them displaying their feathers, it seems as if they're very proud. It can't be as proud as a fox. That doesn't really fit. Not as proud as a rock. That doesn't fit. As proud as a feather. Doesn't fit. Why would a feather be proud? As proud as a pancake. No, that doesn't fit. As proud as ice. That doesn't fit either. As proud as an elephant. No, that's not the right phrase. Right. So now get your thinking caps on and it's your turn to try. You'll see the little pause symbol that comes up, which means once you've seen what's on the screen, you can pause it and have a really good think about it. So choose an appropriate ending to complete the simile. So we've got a few beginning parts of the sentence. So as big as an, as cunning as a, as cold as a, as flat as a, as hard as a, as light as a, and as proud as a. So pause the video, see if you can think of an appropriate simile. How did you do? Okay, so let's see if we can join up on the screen. So, as big as an, yeah, did you get it? Elephant. As cunning as a fox. As cold as ice. As flat as a pancake. As hard as a rock, as light as a feather, and as proud, we've just done this one, as proud as a peacock. And there we go, just so you can check and see them as full sentences. Okay, let's move on. Okay, another challenge for you. Again, this is one where I'd like you to pause There's going to be a short piece of text, and I'd like you to see if you can spot the similes in the text. I'll read it out for you as well. It was a cold winter's day, and Sam was feeling ill. He sneezed as loud as a banging drum, as cars shot by as fast as lightning. He pulled his new hat further down his face. It felt like silk. Despite the low temperature, the sun shone brightly like a brand new jar of marmalade. Yum. Now, normally in a piece of writing, you wouldn't put this number of similes into one short passage, but this is just so we can have a really good go at finding them. So pause the video, see if you can spot them. Okay, how did you do? Let's have a look. There we go. So we've got, he sneezed as loud as a banging drum, as cars shot by as fast as lightning, pulled the hat further down his face and it felt like silk. And despite the low temperature, the sun shone brightly like a brand new jar of marmalade. Yum. Okay, one more challenge for similes. And again, pause the video once you have seen the challenge. Are these similes a good choice or a bad choice? Why or why not? Okay, A, his handwriting is so bad, it looks as if a spider has crawled all over the page. There's the spider. Okay, so is this a simile and is it a good one? So let's see if we can identify the simile. Pen. As if a spider. And then B, the soap was as slippery as a book. And then we've got a simile as a book. And there are the books. Pause the video and have a think. Okay, what did you think? His handwriting is so bad, it looks as if a spider has crawled all over the page. Yes, that's very plausible, isn't it? Spidery writing, it's quite a common phrase. The soap was as slippery as a book. Are books slippery? Not really. That one would be incorrect. Okay, let's move on. Now, what is a metaphor? Metaphors are actually quite closely linked to similes, so we'll actually show you the relationship between both of them. So the definition of a metaphor is a phrase where two unlike things are compared. However, the two things do have a link. So for example, you might say the sun is orange marmalade, and then you might continue your sentence and say it's beating down on my forehead. Instead of saying his handwriting was like spiders had been crawling all over the page, you could say his hands were spiders as they grabbed the handwriting pen and wrote all over the page. Not always. Metaphor usually contains a be, a was, an is, a were, an are. So you're saying something actually is something else. The leaves are dancers floating in the wind. The animals were very cunning. So we've learnt about similes. And this would be a simile, as proud as a peacock. And then this is a similar sentence, but it's written with a metaphor. He is a peacock. wonder what the person would be like if you said they were a peacock. They'd maybe quite showing off, maybe. So a metaphor is a really powerful descriptive device. So you have a go and pause the video once the instructions have come up on the screen. Which sentences are similes and which are metaphors? The puppy was like a small elephant, A. B. She was a cunning fox during the game. C. As he walked up the mountain, his hands turned to blocks of ice. And D. The ground was as flat as a pancake. So pause the video if you haven't already. How did you do? So this one's a simile. The puppy was like a small elephant. Oops, there we go. This one's a metaphor. B, she was a cunning fox during the game. C was a metaphor. As he walked up the mountain, his hands turned to blocks of ice. So they actually did turn to blocks of ice. They weren't like blocks of ice. And the final one, D, was a simile. The ground was as flat as a pancake. So our final piece of figurative language that we're going to look at in this particular video is personification. So this is the definition of personification. It means to give non-human things, or actually animals, human characteristics. And here's our example. The sun waved its bright rays at me. The dog chatted noisily to me. Can the sun actually wave? No, but we understand what it means. It's a friendly gesture. The dog chatted noisily to me. Can dogs actually chat? No, but we understand what it means. It's a friendly dog who's probably making lots of different noises. And you would choose the action or the quality that you're going to give to these non-human things or animals, something that they wouldn't normally do. So a sun wouldn't normally wave, a dog wouldn't normally chat. And then we have another example there at the bottom of the screen. The leaves sang to me. And I'd imagine that it was autumn and maybe the leaves were floating around, and it was as if they had a beautiful melody to go with them. Okay, a bit more on personification. Personification can also be an adverb or an adjective. So you can give an emotion to these non-human things or animals. So the angry trees moved closer. So that's our adjective. And again, once all the information's come up on the screen, if you press pause, which sentences use personification? So we've got 4 options, A, B, C, and D. I'll just read them out for you. A, his hair was a bird's nest. B, the house moaned as the wind wrapped itself around it. C, Sam was like a snake and he ran through the crowd. And D, the water lazily dripped from the tap. How did you do? And if you've noticed and watched the whole video through up to this point and you've learned about similes and metaphors, you may have spotted that we've also included some of those as well. A was actually a metaphor. His hair was a bird's nest. There's no action there, so we know it's not personification. Personification was B. The house moaned when the builders set to work. Do houses moan? No, they don't. C was a simile. Sam was like a snake as he ran through the crowd. And D was personification. So well done if you got those. The water lazily dripped from the tap. Can water be lazy? No, so we know it's personification. Thank you very much for joining us. See you again next time.